You help me film a video? You want some Maker's Mark? No? Are you too young? I'll give you some, dang! What's going on, everybody? Trev Wilson here. Welcome back to the Bourbon Ridge. Today, it's the Maker's Mark Wood Finishing Series 2023. The BEP, Barrel Entry Proof, the BEP 2023 is here. Super excited as always, had to go fight the horde off for this. This thing's pretty dang hard to come by. Everyone thinks this being the last one or whatever is just, I don't know, people are going crazy. Coming in 110.7, 55.35, finished in 10 virgin toasted American oak. I love the American oak staves in my Maker's Mark. So one thing we got to get into before we get into the tasting and the smelling, and if you should go buy this and how this ranks amongst the other ones, is the back of the bottle. There's been a lot of talks about this specific release. I wouldn't say misinformation, but I think a lot of not telling the whole story, and they say it best on the back. So we're gonna read that, and then I'm gonna give you my interpretation of what everything means. So heading to the back of the bottle, with our 2023 Wood Finishing Series release, we're showcasing the influence of our unique 110 Barrel Entry Proof BEP. We go in at this lower proof to achieve the one-of-a-kind taste profile Bill Samuel Sr. established in 1953. Anything less or more wouldn't truly be or taste like the Maker's Mark you know. To celebrate our special 110 entry proof, we've created an expression that features even more of what you get from a lower entry proof. More wood sugars, more barrel characteristics, and ultimately a more flavorful sip. Here we go. Important. Our first chapter of the Wood Finishing Series has been a way of honoring all the elements that make makers makers. But with this seventh and final expression, we're closing the chapter out with just as exciting chapter to follow. Enjoy accordingly. What does that tell us? These first 7 installments were chapter 1, and that there is a chapter 2 coming. Now, what that will be is pure speculation, because that's about as far as they've gone into telling us what is to come with whatever chapter 2 is. We haven't flipped the page of this chapter. It's not the end of the book. We've reached the end, and we're about to flip the page, but we don't know what that chapter is going to be. You know, is it going to be the end of wood finishing? Is it going to be the end of this entry proof? We don't know. What we know is there's going to be a chapter 2 of some sort, so no need to panic. It's just Maker's Wood Finishing Series as we know it is coming to an end, and something new will take it. So that being said, let's wrap up chapter 1. Let's see how the BEP smells, tastes, how I think it compares to the other ones, and if you should go and hunt this sucker down. So, on the nose. Oh yeah, that is definitely oaky. You know, I'm getting the American oak staves. Now, I wouldn't say that it smells old, like an old oak. If you're drinking something that's 12, 13, 15 years old, it starts getting really dark. This is much brighter wood. This is, you know, they say the wood sugars, it's sweet oak, toasted oak, really heavy vanilla. It honestly smells pretty spicy for a wheated bourbon. Typically, some makers are pretty soft to me. You know, I don't know if that's just some alcohol coming off, but it makes me think it's spicy. It's warm and inviting. Overall, fantastic nose. A little bit newer, fresher for a Maker's Mark, if that makes sense. Like, that's kind of not a typical Maker's nose. Really makes me want to drink it, so cheers. Huh. Interesting. That's not like a typical wood finishing series. There's definitely, like, I understand why they talk about the wood sugars and more barrel characteristics, because it's really prominent on this. Less of that super desserty, confectionery sugar. To me, Maker's is almost always kind of, or at least some of them's been like vanilla ice cream, chocolate ice cream, just thick, chocolatey, just, they're crazy. This is kind of taking a back seat in this one, and the barrel is saying, hey, I'm here. I can do this too. It really does transition as it goes through your palate. So up front and in the mid palate, I am getting a little bit of this kind of a vanilla fudge ice cream blend going in. So, you know, typical of a Maker's or some of those other wood finishing series, some of the FAEO2, kind of like this chocolatey thing. But then as it gets to the back of the palate is where the barrel notes really start ramping up. I'm getting more of that toasted oak, getting a little more spicy back there. It really is kind of just different from the others. It doesn't really compare to any of the wood finishing series that I can even think of off the top of my head. Most of them to me have been really dessert, just thick chocolate, thick vanilla, very desserty, very bakery. This is different. This is fun. I think this would be welcome to people who are like, hey, I'm not the biggest fan of Makers. I haven't really had, like, if you don't like those other flavor profiles, I think this is a little different. It almost feels like if this was in a blind, and we all know I'm not good at Makers and blinds anyway, but I think that this could trick people into even being a Maker's Mark. I think it really does show a lot more oak wood notes than we're used to out of Makers. Now, by no means is this overly oaky. It's definitely there, and I think what makes it stand out more is that note typically isn't this prominent in a Maker's Mark. So with it being there, it's really welcoming to me. I will say it does give a little bit of that tannic note on the tongue, but nothing over the top. I think it's just the right amount of wood in my Makers. Another thing to note, as I keep going back, it's not as thick of a pour as some of the other ones. And if you've had the other ones, you know what I mean. It's kind of like, you know, the chocolate starts turning into fudge. The vanilla turns into just I don't even know where I was going with that. A glob of vanilla. This one's definitely lighter. So I'm thinking toasted vanilla. I don't know, like a light chocolate, maybe a little toasted pie crust, that sort of thing. Overall, I think this is a good send-off for chapter 1. I really like this. I think a lot more people might like this, because I know a lot of people do not like Makers, or they're not the biggest fan of Makers. I think this would be a fun one to pick up for you just to see. I've tried this one, I've tried that one, I did not like them. I think this is kind of different enough for where you might want to dabble your toe into it. So for that, definitely recommend, especially this is the end of the wood finishing chapter 1. Don't know what chapter 2 is gonna be, but this is a good send-off. Definitely recommend. How it compares to the other ones, where would I place this one? For me, and my palate, because we're all different, okay? This is all from memory, so until I blind all 7 of them in a huge epic battle, I won't know my actual order. I really loved the FAEO1. I don't think this tops it. I really loved the RC6. Don't think this tops it. You know, this would probably fit somewhere in between the BRTs and that FAEO2. I think it's still better than the SE4 PR5. That was probably my least favorite, just didn't do a whole lot for me. So this would fit somewhere 3rd, 4th, in the middle of the range, especially because it is different. And I think that would be the variable, is that some people, I think, were gonna drink this and be like, wow, I really love that. And it is, because it's so different from the other ones. But that's the thing to note. I think they really are spot on with these flavor notes. It's not like the most, complex thing in the world. It's, barrel entry proof. It's a lot of barrel characteristics. Know that going in. They told you. It's right on the bottle. There we have it. The Maker's Mark BEP, the 2023, the end of chapter 1. I cannot wait to see where chapter 2 goes, whether it's just more wood finishing series, if it's not wood finish, if it's different entry proofs. You know, I'm kind of hoping for that one. That'd be pretty cool. Only time will tell. So keep your eyes peeled. If that's something that interests you, I cover, you know, articles and emails and all that stuff that, you know, Maker sends out, other news in the whiskey world. So if you want to be up to date with some of the big drops, over here, Booze News gotcha, and we do reviews. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm Trev Wilson. Like the video, subscribe, comment, do all that weird stuff. I will see you in the next video.